10:02, we'll call this meeting Commissioners Court to order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Jeff Watts to give the invocation.
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to gather in a free country this morning, Father, and discuss the business of this county. Father, we pray for rain this morning, and we ask that you send it our way. We need it desperately, Father. We ask that you watch over each and every one of our men and women in service and those that serve our county, Father, and be in harm's way. Father, we ask that you forgive us of our sins and continue to bless us as you do in so many ways. It's in Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Y'all join me in pledging, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas pledge, please.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take seats, please. Okay, I asked the court, there's some questions that some of y'all mentioned you had on the consent agenda before we take any action on it. We'll see if we can clarify those. Mr. Harvey, you had one.
I was just asking about item 8 and item 9. Are we going to start doing that?
Well, there is a procedure in place, is there not?
Yeah, and everybody's budgets have an in-county travel item, but I did talk to the auditor this morning. We prescribed a form and said everybody had to do a mileage report, and I didn't coordinate with her if they wanted to change. The form we have the constables using is really more detailed to what they do. So the idea would be to do, whether it's extension service, it's any office would be, because we do have offices that traditionally have gone around during, the auditor's office, and they'll go from, one location to another and need to report that mileage, so they show that, but that's not a universally prescribed form, so I asked Deb if she'd do that. Her suggestion was we allow what's been turned in for this month for those other departments that didn't pick up on what it said in the budget notes to do that, and that the form for the constables probably is a little too busy for everybody else to use. She wants to take some of that out of it and get that out. So, but that would deal with item 8. With item 9, that's going to be up to you all to decide if you want to revise your budgets, any to do that. But Commissioner Watts, you might want to speak. One of the reasons you're doing that is you have increased your mileage. You're driving a great deal because...
Yeah, since I replaced the foreman and doing that mileage, of course, running to Electra and back multiple times per day can add up. And we have extensive road projects going on right now, which is requiring that at the same time. But Willie and I talked about what that line should be, and so that's where we came up with that, Commissioner Harvey.
I see what you're saying, is that you use that line because that's where the money was.
Well, money is transferring in the money.
Yeah, it's within his own budget.
Right.
Well, I'll make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Hang on just a second. You're into that. I had a question. Sheriff, you and I talked about the kits that are on there. Yes, sir?
Number 11, we want to discuss?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Please change that to DCIF.
Thank you very much. That's the formal name for the commissary fund, just in case. Okay. Okay, was there,
I'll second the motion.
okay, thanks. I had one question, item 14, motion to file Summit Truck Group invoice, number in that for $5,097 with county auditor for payment.
Yes, sir, Judge, and we've been discussing, that's, of course, and I've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
International today is not the truck of choice to have out there, and it continues to be an issue each and every year. That's 2008 model that's in the shop, and of course, worse than that, it stayed there 5 weeks to get that work done. And of course, the common guy can't afford for a truck to be in the shop 5 weeks while he avoids payroll on whatever. But nevertheless, we have discussed the dump truck, maybe that's a capital purchase item, becoming road tractor and forego the dump truck. But I've informed my guys to stay off of that truck as much as possible until we can see trade-in something to happen. We nevertheless spend $5,000 to $10,000 annually on some shop function that has to go in order to be repaired on that particular unit.
Is this an over-road truck or a dump truck?
It's a 15-yard dump truck.
Which has less than 50,000 miles on it.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
God dang.
And it must be hauling the dirt for the money pit. That's the only thing I can figure. I just knew we had had a significant repair last year on it. And
It is pre-DEF. It doesn't have that afterburner diesel fluid in it, but it still continues to have issues. You know, put a new brain in the dash and it'll last a year, and the new brain goes out. It's just not good.
If it had DEF, it never would run.
No.
Bad deal. That's one of those need to cut our losses deals.
Yep.
yeah. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Harvey, a second by Commissioner Baller.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
one other thing I want to touch on is number 18.
Yes, sir.
Notice schools to be effective January 12th. How could we, is there any way we could back that to the January 1st? This personnel, though, we kind of moved this schedule.
We can't do retro pay, but what I wanted to sit down with you, and you and I kept mentioning each other, is I think what we can do is adjust the amount of money on a biweekly pay period.
Right.
I think we can go back and figure that out, and the court could approve that adjustment so that we catch up with that money that was missed since you've taken the money out of that other line. I could only get so many wheels moving at one time to meet the deadline to get it
I'm
done.
going to hand up down from the trains.
Right, but that's my thought. I have not talked with the auditor about it because I wanted to get your blessing on it. That's your budget first. But now, the only other thing I'm going to be sure we have a nice letter in bold print says don't get used to this biweekly amount. Okay. It'll be slightly more, but I know the figures I ran, there's some significant difference there. So I'm doing my best to catch up, but also to work with your budget and your consent.
Okay, just want to make sure we,
That's,
as long as we get to discuss it.
what's the other one's name?
Yeah, yeah.
Judy.
And I've had them work up those numbers, so I just didn't make that move without talking to you first.
Okay. Be higher than that, Judge.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, if I'd seen you at the pancake thing, I could carnage it then.
I saw you on TV, you was busy.
Yes, sir. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
Question on number 8 and 9. Many moons ago, our money was rolled into our salaries for mileage. So here we are going to be setting a precedent again that, okay, he wants 12,000. It's possible that everyone up there is going to want 12,000. I do in-county travel that I've never recouped costs on, still don't want to. I'm sure there's other elected officials plus the employees that are going to want to start recouping their costs per mile.
Okay, now employees, if you have it in your budget, and with some of the departments,
Mileage in our budget.
okay, I don't know who, that has to come from you all to say you need that. Some departments have that mileage for their personnel that have to go to different places. It's kind of like we had people had mileage for going back and forth to the post office. Well, we did away with post boxes. To me, that was two things that were kind of ridiculous. Was we paid for post office box, we paid for 5 or 6 different people to go there and back, plus their time. And so the only one I think that still picks it up, and she does it in a county vehicle, is for the inmate mail because of the size, the volume of it.
I was just curious because now you're going to have many people coming forward next year's budget.
Ms. Flores,
asking
would you
for-
grab the mic? She's asking, she can't
Yeah.
hear you.
Well, I mean,
Thanks,
it's
Gary.
already being done. I mean, this isn't anything new, it's already being done in certain departments.
Well,
Well,
it's
with
new for
elected
elected
officials,
officials.
we were rolled in, that mileage money was rolled into our pay. So we actually received the mileage plus the 7% that we pay on retirement. So it actually helped out a lot more, and now we're going back to, we still get to keep what was rolled into our salary, plus now we can start claiming mileage again.
Well, Constable Brewer is an elected official.
Yes, but we said he had been on a county vehicle, we moved him to a private vehicle, moved him to an auto allowance, then we moved him to a mileage reimbursement. Now, his situation was totally different than everybody else's because of the way we made those changes. But as far as what you're saying, if it's fair for one, it's fair for all.
And I can just see next year, we're probably going to be broke again, and we're going to be losing personnel. And if you take $12,000, that's 12, 24, 36, 48,000, that's one person. So next year, you're going to say, oh, because of all this, and with everybody else doing it.
Patty, you
you're probably gonna
understand.
get you're probably going to get 2 salaries that we're paying for gas. So we're going to have to lose 2 people countywide to help pay for gas.
Patty, so you understand, 12,000 is the item dollar amount budgeted, not what a person receives in a year. So if you're going to drive $12,000 worth of miles, you'll put that down on your mileage sheet before you'll be reimbursed for it. I don't know how many times you drive 150 to 250 miles a day in this county, but I'll be glad to pay it for you if you'll bring the request in. But you're going to have to prove the mileage to me, just so we're clear. 12,000 doesn't mean that's what that person receives. 12,000 is the amount budgeted to cover mileage if that person drives that many miles. Just so you're clear.
Okay, and the $907 you're receiving, is that for 1 month? too?
That is for 1 month, and the mileage for that is on the sheet at the auditor's office if you would like to go review it. But so you understand that you would also record that number of mileage in order to receive $970.
Well, I wouldn't do that because my gas mileage was put into my salary. So,
It may have been, I don't know, I was not here. I know that insurance was certainly stopped and you received the stipend for it as well, but I don't.
now you're trying to do away with that too, so.
Nevertheless, so you understand, I hope that was clear.
Okay.
What's a good cap number? 12,000 in? I mean, that's not what we offered other elections. So,
No.
I mean, I'm in favor of us getting a reasonable amount of mileage, because I do travel a lot. If I go out to Lucy Lane in my personal pickup, that's 30 miles, which I'm subject to doing that quite often, going out into the far reaches of the county, and I think it's ridiculous to pay it out of my pocket, but at a clip of $1,000 a month, when we pretty much hammered all the other electeds, we weren't going to do that.
Well, 1,000 a month would represent better than 2,000 miles.
Yeah.
And I'd be hard pressed to,
I mean, I don't disagree with the request to be reimbursed. I do have a problem with that amount.
Well, it's just an estimate.
Well,
When,
The way I looked at it, Mark, on that was, let's say I took Bill's truck, or took a truck. What is that, a $650 expense for this county a month for purchasing a truck? And then I got to
we've
put
got
gas in.
trucks. I mean, why wouldn't we use one of our precinct trucks?
I'm saying they don't come free. I mean,
Well, I agree.
they don't pick them off the tree, so they have an expense to them. What is that expense monthly? $600, $650? I would say that's a good number. Okay, so then add fuel on top of that. So how much fuel are you going to buy when you're filling up daily? How much fuel?
oh, but it's.
$65 a day?
Don't-
Times 20? What's that going to be?
What about that vehicle is there? Is it being, we bought that in late 15, early 16, a foreman a vehicle,
Yes.
and
Why would we not use that when we're traveling the county roads?
We do. His
Well-
workers are driving it.
I mean, when I survey my roads, I go in the county vehicle. But if I get called out to go across county, if I'm meeting Leon out, wherever, out in the county, I'll drive my vehicle out there and I don't turn in mileage
It's a little
reimbursement.
bit, it's a little bit different situation for him.
I understand
Because
that
of-
he's taking over,
Yeah,
but
and he's got a bunch of, he's here, then he's here, then he's here, then he's here. I mean, I kind of get that it's a lot,
it is a lot. And I'm not disagreeing with
but
that.
I don't.
And I'm not, but-
I'm going by, I have two foremans that make similar wages for, I'm getting their truck and I'm reimbursing their fuel for that kind of money a month. I spend anywhere from $800 to $1,400 a month on truck depending on what mileage they have. And can I do that cheaper? Maybe could, if I want to buy a truck and keep it up.
So
So,
this total is a lot less than owning a fleet of vehicles,
absolutely it is.
which we did at one time.
Well, I'll just be prepared that when we go through budget, I think everybody's gonna ask for $12,000 a month now.
well,
We have to justify it.
well, but they're going to have to fill out the mileage reimbursement. That's just like Constable Brewer started out wanting like $15,000 a year. And he has to, fill that out. And one of the things we've criticized him on is he has this patrolling mileage. I think if you all follow that sheet that you have to put down, I went from here to here for this, and then you went from there to there, it's going to take some time, but it will detail that expense, because that is exactly what we're expecting the constables to do now, to claim their mileage.
But again, $12,000 is a budgeted number, Mark.
I get that, but,
You want to lower that budgeted number, basically?
well, I'm just be prepared that everyone's gonna ask for $12,000 when they come in for their next budget cycle. Everybody that's asking for
As long
mileage
as
right
they
now is gonna ask
substantiate it,
for it.
Mark, would you rather them pay it out of their pocket than this county reimbursing for it? Would you rather?
If they're actually driving it, then they need to be reimbursed.
That's
for it.
exactly the truth. That's exactly the truth.
If there's other options available for them, then
If I were one of them now, I'd be keeping ever since I've been in county employment, I have kept a mileage log because I claim that every year on my income
Yeah, I
tax.
do too. I do it for the tax season.
And so, Ms. Flores, if you're going to put that in, you ought to start today and keep you a log of if you drive inter-county business for the county that you think you ought to be reimbursed, then I'd put down my odometer readings from here to there and what you did, and use that to substantiate a budget request.
Well, you've got to remember, I've been here forever, so I was here when it was rolled into the salary. I accepted that. So I don't know that mileage.
Okay, but you know what got me? We had two commissioners that immediately ordered pickups the next year.
Well, who's driving, who's down 7 employees down to, it can be 4.
Yeah.
Who's driving the vehicles that they already have?
That was the questions that were just asked. And, you know, probably, I have never wanted to drive a county vehicle. Because if I have a personal errand to go run, I don't want to have somebody question why I'm using that county vehicle. And so I think that's much more common now that elected people do not drive county vehicles. Anything else?
I think it's kind of lopsided view from Ms. Flores to, they took all of the mileage deals and everybody got the same mileage. Most of the elected officials make the
No,
same.
didn't make the same at all.
But if you look, when we sign all the salaries for everybody every year, well, ours is the same as hers.
Your salary is, but the mileage they had was not anywhere close to what commissioners were paid in mileage.
I'm talking about today.
Yes, sir.
Today. If our mileage was rolled in, then our pay should be substantially different from hers. Because she goes to the bank and back. Where else do you go, Ms. Flores?
You stay there in Walmart.
Okay, so that's a very limited amount of mileage that she's getting paid the whole thing for.
Well,
Okay, and you expect us to go from Bonner Road Bridge to River Road to Lucy Lane. We're fighting fires in the southwest corner of the county. We're all over the place, and we're not running to the bank. So if we're required to, out of our own pocket, pay for all that mileage, then it sounds like to me we'd be a whole lot smarter if we just go ahead and order a $50,000 county vehicle and quit paying out of our pocket to serve the county. I'm talking about what we have today. If you're telling us that you rolled in $4,500 of mileage into my pay years ago, and you did $4,500
No, it was 250.
Okay, but how did you get to the same pay as us?
No, how did you get to the same pay as us?
Sounds like to me we
You
took
always
that-
made less.
We took a pay cut.
You always made less. The commissioners always made less.
It's all
Got
the same.
$4,500 rolled in.
But that 4,500 was a slide under the door deal to raise their salaries, because I never drove enough mileage to ever really legitimately earn that. So my second year here, I proposed to increase my salary and lower my auto allowance, because what it was a way around. The law didn't require them to report auto allowance at that time. Now it does. But it was a neat way to pad that salary. And that's the only way I can ever see that actually was.
I don't know what they did. They did it a long time ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
2001. What you said?
I can't remember if that was after I became county judge or not, but we, at somewhere along the line, we proposed getting all of those salaries. To me, if you added the other together, the commissioner's court was ahead. So we brought it back in and tried to make it a good deal for everybody. And like I say, two of the commissioners took advantage of that and ordered pickups.
Well, I don't think that's right.
Well, I didn't think it was right then either, but I wasn't in a position, I was one vote.
I spend about $70 a week of my own money buying fuel to run from here to there. And I've never turned any mileage in or asked for a reimbursement or anything like that, because you told me that I'd already got that in my pay. And then I discovered that everybody else is the same pay, and they're not expending $70 a week out of their pocket to go here to there around the county. This seems a little odd to me.
Well,
I feel the same way about that.
their job didn't call for that. I tried to tell you guys during budget time, you can get this in, you can do what you want, and Commissioner Watt's situation has changed dramatically.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And so that's why I understand his making a request. And he's only going to get reimbursed what he can document. He's not going to get it. It's not like he's adding $12,000 to his pay. So that amount, and it's going to come out of, is that coming out of, I think it was your assistant foreman's line? Is that where you're taking that out of? The 02 position?
Yes.
Your 00, your foreman's 01, and your next highest paid was an 02.
Right.
So that means you're not going to fill that position?
Neither one.
You're taking it out of the health insurance line,
Yeah.
not,
That, their contribution.
okay.
Okay. Any more comments? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Mahler to approve the agenda as stated with the correction to item number 11 for that to be paid out of the DTIF fund. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. Thank you. Okay, item number 1 is review and approve the regular bills for payment.
Motion to pay the regular bills as reviewed on Friday, Judge.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Mahler, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the regular bills for payment. Any questions or comments?
Not on the bills.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 2 is discuss and review the jail maintenance project and work orders. No outstanding work orders, the report we got on Friday. And total work orders worked with 31. That's kind of about a normal number between the ones that are scheduled and the ones that come up. Sheriff, any additional comment on that?
No, we still have one little issue at the annex with, we never got to deal with the water and the showers that come out into the day room. I can't remember which, so we don't take all the aids. All the aids. We still need to sit down and discuss and do something to, we had one time talked about it was going to be I don't remember, $6,000 or $10,000 to put some kind of barrier in there or something to keep the water from coming out past the shower area because it floods everything. It also, after court, I give you my 2 cents on it, which I think would be a simple, really cheap way to do it.
Well, I remember, I didn't realize it was going into that day room area, but what I did understand was there was some debate about the lip that could be put in there and still meet ADA requirements and stuff like that.
Right.
Couldn't be higher than a half an inch, right, David?
Right.
Yeah, no, I think more than half an inch. I don't think we need a quarter inch would divert the water. Just a piece of rubber, probably 2-inch piece of rubber, and box it to the floor so you can't seep under it. It's just a diversion. It's going to be something simple.
I agree with that.
It'd be real cheap. Just got to find the type of
Adhesive.
adhesive. Yeah.
Sounds like something we ought to try.
It beats the, what was it, $7,600 bid to fix them.
It beats that.
Can your maintenance people do that?
I think they could. Yeah.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay. Those guys, they're doing a bang-up job, and they'll figure it out. Get it done.
Probably the biggest challenge getting it dried out, where you can get it glued
Yeah,
down.
that's the biggest.
That's the big deal.
We meant to move some over, not, shut the water off back in that section so they can't take any showers and move to an empty cell where we can, just temporary, just a couple of days, be finished with
If
it.
I get a fan on it, I bet you 24, 48 hours, you'd be ready to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 3 is
If it's as
discussion.
dry in there as it is outside, you'd be in good shape.
We didn't give a fire there.
That's right. Sorry, Judge.
That's all right, sir. Item 3 is discuss, consider take action to review and direct payment of payroll and claims.
Thank you.
Most important thing we do. Thank you.
I'd like to point out something, Judge.
Yes, sir.
It looks like we're averaging about $600,000 a payroll.
Yes, sir.
It's $1.2 million a month. That's a lot of responsibility.
You gonna go somewhere with that? I'm not.
No, I'm just raising awareness.
They're hanging on the
Just
sword.
raising awareness.
Well, I'm
That's
glad
it.
after 3 years, it's been about that for most of that time. It's up a
Well,
little.
it just, when
Yeah,
you get to
no.
see it, when you actually get to see it, it's like the bills.
Yeah.
Before we got a little spreadsheet, you couldn't tell anything, but you get educated right here.
You're actually spending more than that. Times two.
That's what I said. This one's $603,133.
Yeah.
If you do that time two, that's a little,
That's the net pay.
That's the net pay. That's not,
that's the net,
yeah.
total net payroll.
Yeah, the gross pay is on this sheet, you can see it was 866,000.
Yeah.
Gross, and that's not including the insurance. And retirement, FICA.
Yeah.
So 865, 870.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel?
I feel worse. I've had to make big payrolls like that, and you're always scrambling to make sure your cash flow works out. Fortunately, we don't write hot checks here in Wichita County.
Darrell, you do a terrific job of that overtime on the out, and I don't know how that's changed, but, you have a bunch of moving parts that can go in 1,000 directions, and you're got a very consistent feel, and again, Sheriff, the jail overtime is not as good as last pay period, but still in that range that seems to seek right there. And you must be shorthanded.
Yes.
And
I
that-
spoke with the judge Friday.
Thursday or Friday, yeah.
I'm meeting with him and Barry sometime this week, just kind of set out good dates and see if we coordinated to discuss some of the issues we're having. So everybody on the same page understands what's going on.
What is Department 562?
Jailhouse security. Jail
Yeah.
security, courthouse security.
Courthouse security.
That's the kind of stuff like that right there that aggravates me. It's just somebody's visiting and just punch out or whatever. Wish we could figure out how to make that little stuff go away.
What's that?
Like this right here. This apparently is a full shift. Right?
8 hours, yeah.
So but this
So
little
that's-
stuff
yeah,
like
little
this,
stuff.
this right here, just wish we could get that off there.
Yeah.
Judge, I make a motion that we took the payroll.
Second.
Judy, did you ever, or have you decided if those hours could be added in a efficient or with manner to see total hours? Where have you decided to place those, or?
I think that we can work those hours into below the totals that we had there. It'll take us a little while to rework the worksheet to get that in there. We did change the format on the other summary. On this one-page summary here, we changed the format to have the overtime and holiday hours next to each other with the total number of hours.
Right.
And then just the total money for both. So we did make that minor change there.
Yes, and that was good.
Judge, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff or one of you guys, on the, like 560 and 561 on the holiday hours, some of them, the majority of them are 8, some of them are less than that. Why would anybody be less than that in 560 and 561? Like,
Some of those we flex them, and we'll flex them half a day a lot of times, and we're not able to flex a full shift.
I see. So
Yeah, overtime.
they worked partial day on the holiday. I was just curious.
That week, they may flex a little
Okay.
time off.
I was just curious as to why they weren't all just straight across
They
8.
had, they didn't equal out with their sick time, so during that week, they had
Yeah.
sick holidays.
We're going to actually get at some point where we completely understand this. We're getting better. We're getting better.
Well, using that flex like that, Barry, is part we discussed last year.
Meredith, would you hand the sheriff the microphone, please? Thank you.
Using that flex, using the be able to flex the hours was something we discussed during the budget time about how we could cut some of our overtime, and that was a big part of one of the things we changed. Instead of letting them get 8 hours overtime, we're flexing them off as much as we can in that pay period. So that way we can still meet our minimal standard what we got to have on the street compared to having extra guys that are still out patrolling, but we can flex our time off.
Okay.
It's made it a lot easier.
Will, this is, you watch that now? Daryl's still deputy, you do jail overtime, is that the
That's
layout?
That's
mostly?
correct, sir.
Okay.
On jail this past time, we had nearly 500 hours of sick. Then, of course, we had to make that up.
Yeah,
That and vacation is kind of hard not
Sure.
to have the overtime.
sure. But I wondered how, I just didn't have it straight in my mind exactly if that had changed or not. And on that, Judy, the total sheet, are those total hours reflective of an addition between overtime and holiday, or total hours, regular hours?
The regular hours are not on there.
Okay, good deal.
We simply did not have time since we met with you last.
Yeah,
week
no
to get
problem.
these out to
I
you.
understand
That's right.
completely. Yes.
We are going to try to get that done, but we just didn't have time this last week to do
Yes,
that.
no
And I
problem.
want to clarify on the holiday, you asked are there a lot of people who get just partial hours? If there is a holiday accrued during the pay period, which is a full 8 hours, if somebody works over 32 hours, any working hour over 32 is paid at straight time holiday. So it could be that they just work 2 hours over their 32. So they would get their full 40-hour check and then 2 working hours. My understanding from Lieutenant Bonin recently is that if exempt position employee does any type of work on a holiday, whether they call in, send an email or anything, they're going to pay them a full 8 hours of holiday pay in addition to their paycheck.
That shouldn't be the case.
No, it doesn't happen.
We do that all the time, then we pay.
We get calls and text messages and emails.
Oh, that's what he sent us in an email, that if he goes around and he asks, did you do any work, and then he pays y'all full 8 hours of holiday pay.
When we have exempt people working those hours, then usually there's a supplemental timesheet set up. On that day I worked from 12 to 2. I did, some justification because they're, as an exempt employee, which you're only talking about 3 of y'all in the sheriff's department. So
you'd see a significant paperwork or these guys we all get caught out more than people realize.
Yes. Yeah.
If you want to, every time our phone rings, we have to go and call you on the middle of the night.
Okay, we're going to put it on a rotating schedule. Once every 4 weeks, each commissioner will be on that.
A lot of things happen. We don't always get 8 hours or 6 hours of sleep.
I like their explanation better than I do Lieutenant Bonnet's, so that's good, that's good.
No, okay. I'm glad to hear that's being managed. It's good. I think there has been some abuse of it. But if you're aware of it, I bet that's not happening anymore. Okay. All right. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Harvey, a second by Commissioner Beecham. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 4 is discuss, consider, and or take action to amend Court Order 17.12.854 dated December 4, 2017 to designate each Wednesday of each month or Tuesday, if Wednesday is a holiday, as a regular Commissioners Court meetings, and to designate each Friday of each month or Wednesday or Thursday, if a holiday, as special meetings for the year of 2018. Tuesday, November 20th will be our regular meetings of the Commissioners Court because of the Thanksgiving holiday. We've talked about this in trying to look at when we had to react to the Attorney General's opinion and have Commissioners Court meetings on Wednesday to do payroll. We thought if we made that one skip, we could come back and do them on Monday. That has put a horrendous crunch on Lieutenant Bonnet, trying to keep up with the time for the largest departments we have. Then it gets to the auditor's office. It often means they're working late Friday or over the weekend. So the idea was, could we move our meetings to Wednesday and then we wouldn't have it? Well, Commissioner Beecham pointed out that some of the conferences and things that we go to, they start on a Tuesday afternoon or a Wednesday, and so Nancy looked up the conference schedules that the commissioners had listed on their travel plan to attend, and Nancy, there's 2 of them that fall where it'd be that Wednesday. Actually, there's a third, but no, you've added that too. West Texas County and Judges Commissioners luckily is in Frisco, so we could meet Tuesday morning and do payroll and get it out. The one that's later in March, August 20th.
Where August 29th is a Wednesday.
Okay.
That's the legislative conference.
That's the legislative conference. That's the pre-leg conference at TAC. So that one we're going to have to either draw straws for which 2 go attend and who stays here and does payroll. I did not.
Payroll on Tuesday.
Well, you've got to be down there, or I think it starts on Tuesday.
Oh.
So you're going to pull that up?
I'm pretty sure it starts on the 29th Wednesday.
You know, Judge, the only problem I've got with changing this to midstream, I looked at my calendar and I've already got 6 Wednesdays out of the next 2.5 months with meetings already scheduled and booked and whatever. I mean, I don't mind doing it, but making that change is going to be extremely difficult.
Well, we plan everything around Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, and that's the way I book my calendar.
Me too. My doctor's appointments, everything.
You told us you own us on Monday, and we took that part.
Well, I didn't make up the 18th.
I know. I know.
Yeah,
that's not the end of the world. I'm just saying
it'd
be easier doing it in advance instead of retroactive.
Could we not just reset the end of the pay period?
I think we need to look at, that could be done. We could change that. I think we have to look at what else that when that domino, what else that would do. The Commissioners Court, my understanding from 100 years ago was it was set up that way because of the road and bridge crews. they wanted to cut back on the overtime they were getting, so they had their pay weekend on Thursday, then they go ahead and work a full day Friday without it being at overtime. I don't know if that holds much true.
Well, aren't we?
If we looked at a different way of doing that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Aren't we really only required to meet once a month? Isn't that the statute?
Well, I can't tell you that's for sure, but you're gonna meet.
I'd always heard.
According to the AG's, well, it's a good story until you get now to the AG opinion on payroll. If you pay bi-weekly, you're gonna meet twice a month.
Okay.
And
So
sometimes you're gonna
right.
meet 3 times because of how the paydays would fall. When Stevens and I talked about this, and I told her we had some concern about, she said we could do it Tuesday would be a possibility. We could do the Tuesday meetings and work around it. I guess what I really need to do is y'all look at your schedules. Tuesdays could be better. It gives them an extra. It gives them one more day.
Yeah.
The problem is if there's a holiday on a Monday, then that doesn't allow that same thing. Maybe we need to take a little more time. You all look at your schedules of when you're going to be gone on Tuesdays or Thursdays. We also look at, what other things would fall in there. And then we can look at what would happen if we changed the payroll period. And I'm not sure what all that does. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, once again, you schedule because,
Yeah.
And it makes it difficult to, and probably the second half of the year, I can go ahead and clean that up some. It's just that we've got some things already scheduled and booked. It makes it difficult, but not impossible.
But I think, we wanted to get it out and kind of give a chance to look at it, but see if we can do something to give those 2 offices another day in there to get that done. And I had hoped we could do it on Wednesdays, but if you all would look and see what that particularly does by going through the calendar and mark that, let's get that together. If everybody give us something back, what, how many Wednesdays or Tuesdays you couldn't meet would be the thing. Let us know that, and then we can take a matrix of that and decide if we have 3 here to do any change.
Well, we're pretty committed to being here for Commissioners Court meeting and we try to work.
Well, especially if it's one with payroll, yeah. Well, and I realize I'm throwing you a curve by trying to change that right now to adapt to the situation. And I was looking at the Wednesdays, so we wouldn't meet Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Or can we get the Friday stuff on Wednesday and get rid of it?
We could get some tremendous discussions if we met 3 times a week.
Yeah. So, at any rate, I don't expect any action on that today, but I wanted to get that out and just see if we could.
On it.
So, let's try to have that information put together by next Monday, and we can discuss that then. Linda and Judy, if you all would look at what that would happen, what would be if we were going to change payroll ending dates and all that, what does that do? And then Mr. Hampton, if we had any change on payroll dates, is that going to make any difference for you transferring money, or you just adjust your days to transfer money? Okay. Any comments?
I'm leaning towards changing the payroll date. Linda. Talking to you, Linda.
I know, I'm leaning against that, but I think employees would have a very hard time understanding that if they got, like a partial paycheck one. But we definitely look into it. I think that the big thing is communicating that to the employees, and I know they were really upset about the delayed overtime, and so whenever you change people's paychecks and stuff, that just got to make sure you communicate that well to the employees.
So,
but we
can definitely look into it and see how.
We've been doing this for a while. You guys have been making this deadline.
We've been stressing to make the deadline.
if they stumped their toe, what they were saying, Lee, it would
Get it.
be
Slack.
if
Okay, I got it.
3 people called in with the flu, they're up a creek.
Well, if a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his butt when he jumped. So you
You
can't,
know, I've had some winged frogs now.
you can't plan on every scenario out there. You
But you
can't
try
do
to
it.
plan on the ones you can
We
plan
work till
on.
7:30 Friday night, 9:30 the Friday, not before that, if you're regular problem. You know, it's a lot of like, and it's a lot of extra, it compresses the time frame for Lieutenant Bodden, so it's stress for him to get that information to us, so there's some things that
Were missed along the way that we had to go back and catch later
Are they
because
on,
they were
are
extended.
they on the time clock
They
system?
they are on the time clock, but he has to go back through and review all that time to make sure there was no missed punches, make sure everybody got their time in, send us the hours of the hour, the people who just work on an hourly basis and not a full-time basis. There is quite a bit that Lieutenant Bonin has to do after they close their shift. He has to go through and review all that, send us the information. We have to compile the information from all the departments. It's not really, the way our systems are right now, it's not really just press the button and the information goes. It's a lot of get information on paperwork from different people, compile it all, do the data entry, review it all very extensively to try to make sure we didn't miss anything and everything, the numbers are good, put the packets together, and we're doing all that in one day.
And besides that, Claire may not be able to.
All that in one day?
So,
One day? I can see where that might be a little stressful.
and that's what we need to know, because we
Yeah.
don't know all the hands-on function of doing that. That's the question, is that,
So if we move this, are we gonna be able to put the overtime back where it belongs and not delay? Would you be able to fix that if people's checks wouldn't be split? It would be more
They're not split.
transparent?
They're just 2 weeks. They're getting their overtime 2 weeks after the fact.
After the first week, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
You got it then, you're on a schedule meeting. But it's a good thing to have that time to review that a little more thoroughly than we've had.
It does make more of a crunch in the sheriff's department than you'd think, because their third shift starts at 11 o'clock at night. Even though most of the hours are worked on Friday, or say on Thursday night, they start at 11 o'clock, that counts as a Thursday shift. So that person doesn't get off till minimum 7 o'clock the next morning. Possibly, if they have to hold over, it's going to be later than that. That gives a very short time frame for those hours to be computed. If there's a holiday or any kind of overtime with that, it just extends the process. Even though overtime is delayed a couple of weeks, they still have to, at that point in time, have to approve those hours. All the supervisors have to approve their shifts, even though the overtime is delayed, because the time clock has to be closed out so they can move on to the next week. So it puts a strain on them, it puts a strain on us, waiting for them to be able to do that job. And it gives, it just puts a lot of stress on the process, which is one way errors can be made.
change is difficult, isn't it, Judge?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The only change I've ever thought was not difficult was anybody got an increase in their pay, they seem to accept that without a
That's true.
hesitation at all.
That's true.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're all going to get our schedules looked at for the rest of this year and see what the conflicts are. Y'all are going to look at what would be the ramifications of changing the pay week schedule and how we deal with that.
We'll work it out.
Okay. We're down to public comments. Anyone in the audience?
Actually, yes, I do. It's more of a public service announcement. We are getting in tons of requests for ballot by mail that the political parties have mailed out. that individual candidates have mailed out. And the problem being that a lot of people are signing these but don't really want that ballot. So if they get one and you don't want a ballot by mail, don't sign it and send it in. Because once it's sent in and we mail that ballot out, you voted. You can't go and vote unless you return that ballot. Another problem is some of them don't have designated Democrat or Republican. During the primary, you have to designate what party you're going to vote in. So that means if we get those in and it's not pre-populated, we have to mail that back out or send them a rejection letter. I personally think we will mail out that application again and tell them you have to choose a party. If I'm going to pay postage to send out a letter, I'm going to pay postage to send that back out so they can send it back to get their ballot.
Do you explain to them that they
Yes, we put something in there that they have to choose a party.
They have to choose a party, but they also either have to return that. I know a number of times I've had calls about why couldn't I vote? Well, because you already did vote unless you returned that ballot. That's
right, and that's what a lot of them don't understand is when we mail that ballot out, they're already considered voted.
So you're marked in the poll book?
Yes,
Okay.
it is marked that they have voted and they've received a ballot by mail. And the only way they can vote in person if they don't turn that ballot back in is a provisional ballot. And then if we don't get the ballot by mail, then we can count that one. But if we receive the ballot back in by mail, because we don't look at it, we don't know if they voted it or not. But if they stick it in that yellow envelope and mail it back to us, we're considering it a voted ballot. So
You won't look at it till you open
we won't look at it until we open ballots
So,
to count.
what if one of those ballots was returned and they actually voted for someone in each party?
You get a
understand
Democrat
that.
ballot or a
they don't
Republican
get a
ballot.
ballot if they didn't mark which one they want.
Right.
Democrat or Republican. They won't get a ballot.
Primary
until
ballot.
then.
Okay, so the mail-out is not the ballot,
What they're sending in is the application.
the application.
If it doesn't
Okay.
have Democrat or Republican on there, we will send it back for them to choose which party they want the ballot.
Got it.
And then, once we get that back, then we'll send out that party's ballot. But I know during the primary last time, a lot of people, they got 2 applications, one from the Democratic Party, one from the Republican Party. They sent them both in. Yeah. So, if we had already mailed a ballot out, what the state told us is we had to send the application that came in last, we had to send that ballot out and tell them they couldn't vote the first ballot, that this was the party they chose. That was, I couldn't explain that one. So. But they just, I'm just saying, just watch your mail. If you get it and you don't want a ballot by mail, don't sign it and mail it back in. Watch the party, because some people get one for the Democratic Party, but yet they want a Republican ballot. If they don't change that party on there, they're going to get a Democratic ballot, or vice versa. I mean, you need to, please just, everyone read what you're signing.
So
to
it's
make sure
another
that's what you
unfunded
want.
mandate in a left-handed sort of way.
Well, I really wish the state would do something and do away with political parties able to do this and everybody had to come through us, but that's just my personal opinion.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else in the audience have anything? Okay, Commissioner Beecham.
I have nothing, sir.
Commissioner Harvey.
Really wouldn't. I do kind of shy away
Well-
from political. It just would bring all.
We had a good auction, Sunday, Saturday. A lot of people turned out. Mr. Watts, do you know what the total was?
Well, I think we're gonna come in really close to 60 grand, somewhere in that neighborhood. We've not settled up the sales tax portion that Choate has to pay, but we should be somewhere, it was a 58-ish or somewhere in that
You're not
neighborhood.
gonna miss a lot of it.
No.
That's
no.
good news, yeah, it's good news.
No, that was,
I was amazed at what some of that stuff went for.
me too.
I was like, oh, it's hormones in here or something. It's because they were just bidding against each other. You're not going to beat me. And I'm thinking, holy smoke, You can go buy that brand new for half the price.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, Landon was standing there and he'd have bopped their head. That make a difference.
Yeah.
I was amazed at the steel, that the I-beam was
That
like
one piece of
gold.
I-beam went for 500, one piece of I-beam went for like 500 and something bucks.
Yeah, and that I-beam's older than me and your age added
Which is
together.
what makes it worth money. That's Bethlehem steel. That's the real deal, and that does make a difference.
It's just a chunk of I-beam.
That's not imported, that's the real deal.
Commissioner Mahler?
A chamber banquet in Iowa Park Saturday night, good crowd and just fun time, and I guess we'll have the Electra this next week, isn't that Saturday night?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, so we've made the full round, we've had some good chamber banquets.
We've
Been a
got
good season.
tickets at the judges for Electra at, Joyce has them, doesn't she, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Lots of good door prizes.
We also have family night at Perkins Scout Camp. The fire school's going on all this week, actually started last Saturday.
And
Then the
we're gonna
Redneck
get-
Culinary Academy is gonna cook fish Saturday night. At the same time, the Electra Banquet's going on, so I'm gonna take everything over there and let the guys take over. I'm going to Electra.
We're gonna work on Brad Wynn's fundraiser, I think tomorrow.
Yes, we have a
plan.
meeting.
We're excited about that in Iowa Park, Brad.
Looks like the 17th,
Yeah,
be
great.
February 17th.
That'll be a big effort. and
You're gone, right? Yeah.
We won't take that over the top.
I gotta order all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Sheriff? Yes, sir.
One thing, just tomorrow, probably be Red Flag Fire Danger Day again.
Yeah.
I think everybody's Red Flag Fire Danger anymore. We did have 3 deputies did save a house, a garage, a couple vehicles, and a tractor in Wellington on fire over the weekend.
Yeah.
They're pretty proud of themselves, they're guard posts. But they got that, otherwise they would have lost to some older trucks. So, there are honorary firefighters this week, so.
You know, Sheriff, you make a good point. Our KB index really doesn't qualify us for a burn ban, but I would just put out that everybody do your own burn ban. You can certainly do that. Watch things, little things like safety chains on trailers can start tremendous amount of fire dragging on the road. Make sure they're not. Anytime if you're cutting and welding, have a spotter.
We had a fire, I think, Thursday or Friday, mid-afternoon, early afternoon. On Van Horn, individual was gonna burn a bunch of, he had a big pile of leaves on
Yeah,
any trees. But he had
don't do that.
A bunch of grass, and he was burning it, and then he said the wind come up, and it went 50 directions.
This is not the time, and I tell you, those fires make their own wind when it's as dry as it is. But let's all do our own burn ban and be very cautious of what's going on, because these fire departments are wore out and they don't need the practice, and we need to help them all we can. It's very serious. 100 and somewhat days since we've had significant rainfall in this area, and nothing in sight but wind. So be very cautious. It's extremely important.
I've been asked from a few people about why are we not in burn ban, that's referring to y'all, so.
Yeah.
If y'all get some of them calls, they may.
Well, it's kind of a technicality, but the bottom line is everybody can do their own burn ban. Just be aware that common sense, and we don't need to be burning trash. We don't need to be burning leaves and brush right now. And I know people are wanting to burn off coastal fields and things, and boy, I wouldn't. Remember, there's liability involved, no matter whether there's a burn ban on or not. So be cautious. We don't need to burn this country up.
Well, I talked to a lady this morning, called about it. Why aren't we doing a burn ban? And I explained to her, I said, most of the fires are not caused by somebody doing something stupid. It's wires heating together out in the rural areas. It's sometimes some sort of spontaneous combustion along a roadway. I think we've had, was the one on Wellington, I heard it was a trash barrel that somebody.
Gosh, don't do that. You know, and I'll tell you this year, even more so, there are still millions of dollars worth of cotton modules set to the field. Millions of dollars worth. They're gathering them as fast as they can, but they are susceptible, and we don't need sparks in the air. So be cautious.
I think we've been lucky we haven't lost any of them.
Absolutely. Boy, I'm telling you.
We've actually lost some to the wind. tarps blew off. Right there on 240, there's some module out there that there's just nothing left of it. It's just scattered everywhere. We ain't got it.
Were there some awards, Barry, on Saturday night?
Yeah, Ray Schultz was Citizen of the Year in Howell Park, and I'm trying to remember, I should have wrote them down, but yeah, they did honor several people, and don't have the whole list, but it's good. One of the best programs, Sealed Air did a short program on what they do, and S5, who is, if you've been through Howell Park and seen the remodeled Walmart building, they have done a tremendous job.
It's beautiful.
And one of the points that the gentleman that owns and operates S5 and what they do is they make attachments for standing seam metal roofs to put solar panels, to air conditioning equipment, antennas, whatever you need. And he said they have got a bunch of the stuff on the roof of the new Apple building that you've seen pictures of the last few weeks. Came right from Iowa Park, Texas, right there in that plant. And he said they've done a major portion of that Apple headquarters building. So that business is growing, it's expanding. They're hiring lots of people in the area, and a real success story and what we need more of in Wichita County. But they've done a tremendous job in revitalizing that old building. But good.
It looks great.
It does look great.
Mr. Watts.
Everything's underway out at, we should hopefully finish by Wednesday the what material moving that we had going in Electra. We're moving over Thursday to Huntington, that's 6/10 of a mile, and the road's prepped and ready to be the millings to start hauling in on that as well. We've got those projects now. We've got a reorganization of that yard and shop. I don't know if any of y'all drove around the yard, but you could actually get around and turn around. And
was everything gone from there that was auctioned, or there's still got to be some picked up?
There's stuff this week that we'd made arrangements for whatever purpose to be picked up, and
a lot of it you need equipment, like
to move. And we had told them, Judge, we weren't going to load after 6 o'clock on Saturday and no loading on Sunday, so they've come back this morning and started that. But it was, I thought, all in all, good for what that was, and we just had a lot of activity out there Saturday, and the place looks good, and so we've got making progress, and I'm proud of that.
Okay. You copied me on that one bill for the company you had come out there and wash everything, get it ready. Mm-hmm. That was $1,000 or anything else like that, or you got any other?
The only thing else I will have, I've gotten some stuff from Western or IBI for that we put stuff in and stuff like that. But
okay.
I don't see anything, nothing greater than probably that, or I'm not aware of.
Where did you get the milk crates?
Those are Western, those. Mm-hmm. Which, we debated. We first started with boxes and duct tape, and that didn't work.
RCA needs about 10 of those milk crates for our propane bottles. Okay. So they won't be rolling around.
Well, that is something, that is a standard catalog item, and it's in stock out here at Western. Huh. Lost my train of thought. Judge, did you follow me on the talk or maybe considerations to look at some pricing? Willie came up with a great ideal on the capital expense where we had put a dump truck in Precinct 5. And I said, Willie, what if we looked at road tractor in Precinct 5 in lieu of the dump truck and just use what we've got? Mark's got 2 and I'm sitting on 3. And well, and I told you wrong, Judge, that's not a 15-yard international truck. That's a 6-yard international truck that's given us trouble. Yeah. So anyway, Willie talks with Josh Josh says we've got a lease deal on those tractors that most counties have been going to. It's $15,000 a year, and you do them for 3 years. Willie said, well, why wouldn't you then want to consider maybe doing 2 road tractors and spend a lot less money than what we had allocated in the capital expenditure and stay in fresh units and flush that old stuff on down? And I said, we possibly could. And it certainly shores us up, like for example, tomorrow I have to have contracted help. I have one belly dump and I can't move it quick enough.
There's a belly dump in my yard, and a tractor in my yard.
I have two belly dumps, and Donald will be on that if he's not tied. He's
not fighting fire somewhere.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is I need to run more than that to accomplish what we're accomplishing. Otherwise, I've got men setting, and so. But we will get there in a short period of time, hopefully, with some. And then at the same time, I had conversation with, and he's preparing some prices on those trailers. Willie's talked with him as well, to buy board traded belly dumps in lieu of that 15-yard. We had budgeted that 15-yard as a capital purchase. And so taking those dollars and maybe putting them into a lease program differently so that we can turn them and
I think and along those same lines, Lee and I went and looked at that truck, Sheriff, that's at Colors. It's yours on the 1033. And we need it because right now, I don't have a way to move my bulldozer. And
that truck is clean, it's straight. It's got 89,000 miles on it.
Yeah, that thing would be perfect. And see, we've got our one tractor tied on a tanker, and we can't haul water and haul a bulldozer at the same time, which over the next 30 days is probably going to be real important.
Did Jeff tell you what's wrong with it?
Yeah, he did. It's the electronics on the shifter, and they're looking to see what that's going to cost to get that done. But that tractor is really a pretty straight old machine. And
it's heavy duty too.
Would be good for what we're doing because we get called out to come assist. We can't move equipment.
What we'd have to do is just assign it out to it's kind of like a crane.
Yeah.
Precinct 3.
Put it on location.
Stock location over there, so
it
you can't get rid of that vehicle. Gotta make sure.
Yeah, well, we wouldn't. It'd be perfect for what we're doing.
Inspectors come in, we'll just take them over and show them.
Yeah, because we can't respond right now, and we really need to in the shape we're in.
How do we register it?
Good question. There's a way, I need to find out, Garland can tell us how to do it.
We figured something out.
There's some paperwork we've got to get from the feds to go get tags on it.
Sheriff, if you wouldn't mind, would you ask Arden to look on there and see if there's any more road tractors available?
We could sure use another one right now, especially with this fire.
I know they're not new, but they're free.
Yeah. So there's stuff out there, like I think I told you the other day, Spaniard's going to have to go somewhere else to get it.
Yeah.
A little further than one. We ought to go to Lawton,
Texarkana.
Or just try to keep it that area there instead of going up to Illinois, Missouri, and Kentucky.
It would be most helpful right now to get us mobile again and get us going.
Now, I'm telling you though, guys, $15,000 a year. I've got a truck in the shop right now that I guarantee you is going to cost me $20,000 to get out. These trucks are fully under warranty. And we're going to trade them when they don't have any warranty. To spend $10,000, $12,000, $25,000 on a truck repair is not uncommon. And so if you get one for free and it costs you a fortune.
Wait a minute, I'm not talking about not getting those 2 trucks. I'm
No,
talking
no,
about.
no, in lieu of, yeah.
I'm not talking about in lieu of, in addition to.
Well, I'm just telling you though, when you own a truck that somebody gave you for free and it might have bumps in it,
I think
those bumps could cost you a lot of money, and then you still got an old truck with more bumps to be found.
We understand that, but if we get this truck and we get some new tires on it and it serves us for a year and it blows a transmission, we've hit a home run.
Yeah. We send it back and get up.
Can you send them back?
Take the tires off.
Put the old tires back on it?
On the
Well, what we're talking about, Jeff, is just, you know, it wouldn't be everyday duty. It'd be like, we'd have it sitting on standby so that when fire chief called, we'd be ready to
Or
go.
when one of our other trucks had a mechanical issue, we'd have a spare truck.
Yeah, it could be very beneficial, especially right now.
Do we need any printers? We want to talk about printers.
I have,
Yes, sir.
Meredith, the question on, we have a tire agreement out there pending. Do you know where we're at with that on a scrap tire?
On the list.
On the list, okay. Well, what that is, guys, and the liberty that these landfill uses in this part of the woods, use that company to come pick up their tires at a tire fee. And what they would do, once we're complete here, is make a sachet monthly through us and say, hey, I'm sitting on 100 tires right now or plus.
Have some, yeah.
And I would send them on down the road. And
But we have to pay them to haul them off?
have to pay them, there's a fee per tire involved, which is the landfill price.
So if we get through Texas Regional Planning Commission, we get a tire machine, which we could. He did say that if they fill out the paperwork.
Yeah, bear in mind, there's a reason landfills don't do that, Lee. So just keep that in mind. They use Liberty because that rabbit's been run many a trail, and the cost of all of that ends up being more than just giving somebody $6 or $10 or $12 to do that. So if you would do it, I'd send them all to you.
I think that if you got rid of your 100 tires, which took 100 years to pile up.
No,
it took a long time. Okay, and if you found a tire in a bar ditch, you throw it in the back of the truck and bring it to the shop and split it and throw it in the dumpster. I think that's really a non-issue. But when you let them pile up like that, now you got some work to do. But if you do them as you find them, I think it's no big deal. I mean, you follow what I'm saying.
I'm following what you're saying, yeah.
Don't wait till the end of the day or the end of the month or 6 months.
Yeah.
Have a tire split day.
Yeah.
Bring one in, split it, throw it in the trash. Get out of here. I think we should get one of those machines.
Yeah, I mean, we can get them through the planning commission, no sweat. I just don't want to have it at my shop, and I don't want my guys doing that kind of work. And if somebody will be interested in doing that, I mean, mostly tire shops don't do it either, and it is a man-hour problem, and it takes a long time, and tires are really difficult, and that machine has to be resharpened and redone often. So I'm just telling you, if a person has the time to do that and commit to it, it ain't a bad thing. So, because Kent Tire splits all theirs like a bagel.
Yeah.
And have for a long time, and he seems to get along with that okay. Cutting them like a pizza is also acceptable.
Right.
So.
Now you've made me hungry.
What's for lunch?
Okay.
And then, Meredith, there was a second one, a weigh station. Was that, would you like to negotiate that with the engineer, that Glenn or Dave Romer that actually gave that to us?
I don't have any contact.
Okay.
So if you'll get it to me, I'll send it back to him.
Great.
Okay, who is the weigh station project?
Well, apparently he's been waiting for a contract.
No, I'm talking about, I thought Commissioner Morrow was, then you got, who's carrying the football?
We've got the agreement. I have been bringing that on. I've been going to Matt's meetings with the TxDOT and such. So we're just waiting on the approval from TxDOT. They give us that pending this agreement. Meredith said she had some.
It's got an.
You sent me that last week.
It's got that indemnification provision in it that needs to be taken out.
But Judge,
it's from the state?
Yeah.
It's on TxDOT's right away.
I know, but the state ought to know.
You changed that. When Barry got.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Well, what they did on this one is they put in a sinking fund language, which The constitutional provision says you can't create a debt unless you create a sinking fund for a percentage of the interest on the money or whatever. Anyway, you have to put a certain amount of money off to the side to essentially cover the liability. The problem with an indemnification provision is you can't adequately gauge what that's going to be. Is it a contractor who might break his arm during construction, or is it a truck veers headlong into the thing and kills somebody? You know, you don't know what that liability might be. And so there's no way to establish a sinking fund for an indemnification provision. So they tried to do it in a way that looks legal, which makes me think that they've fought this fight before. I don't know if they're going to give it up or not. So.
But Judge, you had told us that at the time Barry, his boat was loaded with a bunch of other stuff, and you told me I needed to get a hold of that.
It's fine, we're moving forward, it's not a problem.
Okay, yeah,
We can all help out.
I'm just trying to keep up with
Yeah.
who's.
But it's very, very okay if you tag team it.
Sure.
Okay?
We'll work together on it. Not a problem.
All righty. Get those calendars back to Nancy and me this week if y'all can, early, like today or tomorrow, so we can look at that and try to plan that. Yeah.
I guess the key over the short term is to have quorum then.
Yeah. So what, if you all give those back, then we'll look at that and see how we've got. One of the trips y'all got in there wasn't in your stuff, was that Houston conference on hot mix.
Is that when? Yeah, and on that note, Mark and I were going to go to a jail, hire other people to run your jail program put on by Lee, your friend, policy. We were going to run down there to that Wednesday. We're going to run down Tuesday night to go to.
Rule number one is you can't do that without the sheriff's permission.
To what?
You cannot privatize your jail without the sheriff agreeing to it. So if you haven't crossed that hurdle.
You ain't going to do that till you learn about it.
Well, yeah, I don't even know if I want to ask him to do that.
That's what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to say you a book you hadn't read. Top deal.
Well,
why would you buy a book you have read?
Yeah, I was wondering that. But, you know, whoever sell them to was doing a good job.
Wait a minute, that's not a good example, Lee. Wait a minute.
Well, Oklahoma, for whatever is on that binge, and I don't know where this is coming from as far as what, but I've been intrigued by the concept. I know zero about it.
Well, we've had some discussion.
Remember, Oklahoma doesn't have a jail commission either.
We've had some discussions about that in the past, and I think the big flag that always comes up is that when you get out of the business, you commit to them, and I think the big problems that we've heard of in some of the discussions was then you're at their mercy down the road. You don't have a negotiating power.
And you still have the liability for it.
Yeah, that's true.
And what about Meredith, for example, I give you a perfect scenario, just outside of San Angelo, and if we were the county of Tom Green, there is a closed down juvenile facility that's fairly big in nature. The fence alone cost a fortune. What prevents John Smith Company from saying, county, if you have overflow, we would love to accommodate that. And those surrounding counties, send us 10, send us 7, send us the troubles, send us the classification issues that cause you.
Yeah,
would that work? Would that be
Yeah, I mean, it's just like what we do when we're overflow. We find a facility that has open space and we send our people to them.
But you're still subject to inspection and the rules.
Oh, yeah, any facility.
Probably far worse privately than you are a county or government.
It's the same standards. We take, in our juvenile facility, Kirk and I were visiting the other day about it, and they've been approached would they want to run a post-adjudication facility. And I told him I didn't think we had any interest in that at all. He's got a good thing going now with pre-adjudication. We're keeping for $100 a day. We've got people coming from 200 miles away because of the way
you'd become a juvenile penitentiary. Basically.
Yeah, and that's, the risk on that is much greater. And even though legally, technically, that would be under the juvenile board, I'll guarantee you we get named in any lawsuit. And the law that, or the one case law on separating that is probably not as thick a barrier as we'd like. So.
But what if you only sent your classification troubles to a close-by facility that causes you to open another unit for John Smith because he's deemed this way?
Well, the last thing
You
you
just
want to
ship
do is
John
send your
Smith.
most problem inmates to a facility that you don't have any direct oversight over.
Not problem inmates, but maybe picked on inmates.
Your protective custody.
The ones that I have to put over here, but I really don't have any to go with them, so I've got a whole set working this over here where I have two in there, but because it throws me over, I have to do that. Why wouldn't I just ship those two that need to be watched a little closer to somebody else and let them meet that same qualification, and I go on with my mainstream and just par back the...
Well, part of what you're saying, though, right now, should the sheriff be looking at the amount of overtime that he's spending, could he move 15 people to another facility, pay for them, and come out
Just
with...
trading one cost, yeah, unless you're saving money.
Yeah.
Trading one cost for another unless you're saving money.
And I don't know where that break-even number
Yeah, I
is.
don't-
I haven't calculated that.
Well, it'd be a little like the special ed co-ops and some of that.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's the same thing that's
That way
happening
they
there.
hire the expertise,
That's
bring
right.
enough in there to have a full unit.
Put them all together
Yeah.
instead of,
Yeah.
That's the concept.
Okay. The other thing, that travel y'all were talking about, remember our policy we put out said you had to list your travel? And if you were going to have anything outside of that, you had to come to court for the...
Oh, Nancy, can you get that on?
You know, guys, if we don't follow the policies and rules we put out, it's kind of hard to expect anybody else to. All right, it is 11:30. We're adjourned.
Meredith, thank you.